Hey everybody, my name is Jason Mandala, and I'm the Farm to School Director for Garden City Harvest in Missoula, Montana. And I am here today to talk to you about building effective school garden committees. These are an essential part of having an outdoor classroom space that is usable, functional, and a part of your greater school community. This is something I've been a part of for about 12 years, helping schools do this. I've helped 11 schools start school gardens, and school garden committees are a huge part of why a lot of those school gardens are still around being used as outdoor classrooms. So we're going to jump right into the components of a effective school garden committee. Okay, so at Garden City Harvest, we've created a document to help schools create outdoor learning centers that are the home of their school gardens. I like to say that we don't want to limit the space to a garden space. We want it to be inclusive of all the potential learning activities. So I prefer to call them outdoor learning centers. And a big success of those is having a great school garden committee. So there's a big chunk of this guidebook that goes into that. So we're going to look at that in detail here today. If folks are interested in getting their hands on this guidebook, we are more than willing to send you that for free. And I'll give you my contact information at the end of the video. So let's take a look at the members of a great school garden committee. This is a group of people that you're going to assemble before you create your school garden. If you already have a school garden and you're the only one running it, or you have a few people, you can certainly do it afterwards. The people are going to change throughout the years. Obviously, kids are going to move on, and that means parents will move on, and teachers are going to move on as well. So it won't be the same people, obviously, the entire time. But these are some of the roles and responsibilities that we want to make sure are covered when creating a school garden committee. No matter when it's at day one or year 10. So the most important is the chair or the president of the school garden committee. We like to have this person not be a teacher, to be honest. And the reason is teachers are already very, very busy people. Not to say we all aren't, but teachers have a lot on their plates at the school already on many committees. So if you can get a really motivated parent or someone from outside the school, maybe it's a partner organization, to be the chair, I think that works out a little bit better. Certainly not limited to non-teachers. I just think it's a little bit easier to put it in someone else's hands. This is someone who's going to be super enthusiastic about the garden. They're going to be a leader. They're going to be an advocate for the garden. They're going to make sure that the meetings happen. They're going to make sure those meetings have agendas. They may be writing updates about the garden's happenings in a school newsletter, or taking care of a bulletin board inside the school that has all the information about the garden. We'll talk about meetings a little bit later. So chair, super essential. You're also going to need a secretary, or whatever you want to call this person, a person who takes notes for the garden and for the meetings. And this is a person who is good at taking notes, basically, and is interested in helping out with the school garden. You don't want this to be the chair. Some of these elements can overlap, or some of these roles can overlap. You don't want the chair taking the notes, is the big thing. And as you can see here on this list, I have stars next to some of these. Those are really the essential ones. The others are not 100% essential to having a great committee, but are good things to have as part of your garden committee. So someone to take notes for sure, and to get those notes out to people who attended the meeting or maybe missed the meeting. You're also going to want a treasurer, someone that's going to deal with the money. This could be the chair as well. This could be the secretary as well. This could be an overlapping position, but we want someone to know what's going on with the funding for the garden. Oftentimes, from my experience, we have put school garden committees, they've been nestled under the PTAs or PTOs at a school. So there'll be a subcommittee for one of those, which works out well because the PTA has a fair amount of fundraising capabilities already in place usually. So it's a good way to get, your garden committee moving quickly. It's also a part of the school that exists already, so it's easy to get folks involved through the PTA. So I highly recommend doing that. You could nestle your garden committee under the existing school committees. If your school has, let's say, a green schools committee or something like that, you could become part of that. I think it's better for it to be on its own, and I think it's better for it to be a parent-teacher endeavor, not just teachers alone. It puts, again, a little bit too much on their plate. So beyond chair, secretary, and treasurer, you're definitely going to want to have what we call a garden education liaison. This is a person who works as a go-between between teachers and using the garden. This means potentially scheduling the garden space for activities, for lessons, for outside organizations that may not be direct partners in the garden, but are going to use the space to educate the students at the school. So you're going to want that person. Again, that could be the chair. Again, we don't want to put too much on one person. So it's good to spread these roles and responsibilities out. But again, you could combine some of these, and that one could be combined. I would recommend this not being a teacher. It's hard for a teacher to be that go-between between the garden space and other teachers. We don't want them to be in a position to have to, call out their peers for not showing up for a lesson or something like that. It's a lot better, I think, if a parent takes care of this role, or maybe some other internal employee at the school. Those are the four really main essential ones. We have a couple other down here that are really nice to have. Again, fundraiser is kind of goes along with treasurer. It should be everyone's responsibility, but if you do have someone at the school or a parent who is good at this, experienced at grant writing, is not afraid to ask for money, that's a great person to have. You may, depending on what phase you're in your garden, want an event/party planner, someone that will make sure there's food for volunteers if you're doing a big build day or something like that. Maybe extending the use of the garden into the community. This could be their role. So that's another good one to have. Not 100% necessary though. And then just folks who are interested in the garden. As I said earlier, people are coming and going on this committee because kids are moving on, parents lose interest, teachers move on. So you want as many people there as you can. That being said, I wouldn't try to cap it at maybe 10 or 12 people per meeting because it can get bogged down if you have too many folks there. But definitely continue recruitment. A recruitment process should always be happening with this committee. And then you may want some project leaders. When you're going to have a major build project at the beginning of the garden, or you're going to add a learning space or a shade structure or a shed, that's when you're going to want to assign that kind of stuff to people who have those skills. So you might find a parent or a teacher who has those skills and make them a project leader for that kind of stuff. Those are the big ones that we've identified over the years. When you have your garden committee, you're going to want to meet at least 4 times a year is what we go for. 2 in the fall, 2 in the spring, just to get your plans ready for the coming growing season and for the following growing season. See where your money's at, stuff like that. Those meetings shouldn't take more than an hour. I highly recommend doing those meetings off-site if it's not nice out. If it's nice, do them in the garden space. I think it's great. If it's not, do them somewhere fun, not at the school, so that you can draw folks in. Nobody wants to go back to the school at 6 o'clock or 5 o'clock after they've had a full work day there or they've already been there to pick up their child. One other note, a lot of my experience in this is from a vantage point of elementary schools. If you have a middle school or high school garden or even a college garden, I would highly recommend having those students be involved in this too. Maybe they're not at every meeting, but they have a voice and we want them to be heard, and this is their garden too. That's a little bit more difficult to do at a elementary school level. So that's about all I have. We had a short window to do this in. I hope this helps out. If you're interested in getting more information and getting this document, feel free to contact me at jason@gardencityharvest.org.